Well, hey, everybody. This is Gloria, and we have Dr. Camille and Angel Ruiz. And happy Monday, everybody. We are so happy to be here. And by the grace of God, we made it to another Monday. And you know what we do if we don't do it any other time? We have to talk about things on Monday. So it's time to talk, y'all. Dr. Camille, you want to say hey? Dr. Camille, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, you want to tell the
I
audience, hey?
can. I thought I said, hey, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Happy Monday.
Hey,
So glad you're tuning in to do the hard work that leads to healing. Don't forget to like, comment, and share as you're listening to the broadcast this evening.
yes, an angel.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we decided tonight we were going to talk about the F word. And I'll just say, okay, I spent the weekend not actually with Tony Robbins, but with Tony Robbins. And we're not talking about the F word that he uses all the time, okay? Our F word for tonight is forgiveness. And everybody just think about that word and take a big breath. Forgiveness. What
It's going to be
emotions?
okay.
What emotions does that stir up with you when you say the word forgiveness? What do you think about? If you're on, if you want to share in the chat, what are some of the things? What are some of the emotions? What are some of the things you feel when you think of the word forgiveness? Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Well, the word for me takes my breath because when I think of forgiveness, I think of work. But then I find the good word, I think of gratitude because I know that God has, man, okay, I know I'm the only one that God has had to forgive over and over and over again, but I'm grateful that he chose to forgive me over and over and over again. So, Camille, what are some of the words that are things that come up in your mind when you think forgiveness? Just first thought that comes up.
The first thought that came up was I'm not afraid of it because I have grown to learn that it's part of the work to make sure that I stay healthy and whole. And that's what I want for, anyone who comes in contact with me to know that, there is a better way. There is an abundant way of living this life. And forgiveness is a part of that. And, if we just fall back into our Christ conscious Christian team, God was so good, and Jesus, as living as that human being on earth, through him, he teed it up for us perfectly. But because we're humans, we don't always get it. We don't always get to get it right. But every day we get up and get it right again. So what I'm trying to say is we have a model. It's been teed up for us. We just have to live it out. And it's hard because it's different than what the world has made its mind up about it. We have these cliches, forgive and forget, and or we misappropriate what the intent was, and we believe that some people get the forgiveness pass because of who they are or who they've been in your life, and and that's not true. So there's all these things that forgiveness is and it isn't. And I think one of the biggest ones is the idea that we could even forgive ourselves, which in a number of different ways is inaccurate, only in that if we have the ability to forgive ourselves, it makes us God, and God doesn't have a chance to be God. But what we can do is those things that we perceive as shortcomings, we can ask God, Source, Papa, we can ask for the forgiveness of our ignorance, in that we don't, forgive us for not fully understanding who we are in spirit, who we are in God, who we are in Jesus. And that way, the actual activeness goes back to Source, and we cease to be the source. And I think we as humans get caught up in wanting the source of everything. We want to be the source of our healing, the source of our forgiveness, the source of our prosperity, the source of our abundance, when really it comes from something that's bigger than we are. And one of the reasons why all of the patriarchs in the Bible got in trouble is because, those moments when they wanted to be something that God already was. I said a lot there, but that's what's been on my heart.
So Angel, when you hear forgiveness and just and by the way, I did finish your book this weekend, and after I finished your book, I went into Tony Robbins, so that was a real experience. But forgiveness, when you hear that word, what does that give you? What does that say to you, or what words come to mind?
Forgiveness would be grace. Forgiveness would be freedom of blaming myself or others. Forgiveness would be seeing beyond the pain in others to the love that is behind it, or the pain that might be behind something that might have happened. Forgiveness would be, to me, just that grace. I mean, just a grace, pure grace, that I know that the more I forgive myself, the easier it is to forgive others. So it just feels like grace, and it feels like a blessing, like a blessing that, Jesus has given us, when he said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Forgiveness is to me freedom of judgment, where you can respect and appreciate where everyone is, and know that when we're in our own lane, we are responsible for ourselves, and that everyone is on their own journey. So forgiveness to me is freedom. It is freedom. It is a blank slate to start anew, and to be anew in any moment that we so choose. Forgiveness allows us to get unstuck, allows us to unstuck others. It allows others to show up anew, and allows us to show up anew. So forgiveness to me is grace. It just feels like grace. It's just giving ourselves and others the grace to be anew, and to show up anew in any moment that we choose to have that.
Okay, now both of y'all said some really deep stuff, and I'll attribute that to maturity that has occurred over the years. So I'm gonna play like I'm that one who has not matured as you all have, even though I'm good on forgiveness, I believe. But they they really hurt me, and it was just, I didn't do anything to deserve it. Why do I have to forgive them?
Because, Angel, did you want to go first?
No, I please go right ahead. Yeah.
Gloria, I'm so glad that you took that position, that you are occupying that space for our listeners that's where they are. We and too often that person whose place you're stepping into tonight, too often that's where people get tripped up, because because I had to grow out of this. I am so wrapped up in what they did that I don't understand, because of immaturity. I don't know if immaturity is the right word, or just lack of understanding. I don't know what I'm doing. I know not what I do. That I'm focused on that rather than focused on how healthy I be once I make the decision to forgive. So, and I think this is a good point out some things about what forgiveness isn't, because if we don't know what it is, we end up participating in something in error. So it's not a pronouncement or an announcement or just a that you say or a chant that you say over and over to get to the other side of something. It's actually a decision that's made out of that's made out of love. I love me and I love that person enough to let them to get them off the hook. Now, they may not be off the hook as far as consequences goes, but as far as the consequences for my well-being, you are a practicing Christian, it is a part of, it's a command, and some people are motivated by a command, but some people, and you can be motivated by a command until it takes with your heart. It's like, do it afraid. I'm afraid of something, but I do it afraid until the courage catches up with me. So for our health and well-being, and like I said, and because God said so, this is, it is not a spiritual suggestion. It is something that we have to do for well-being. But it's also, like I said at the beginning, society gives us all these roadblocks, and being a human gives us all these roadblocks to our own wellness. And our common enemy, and I'm speaking in Christian terms right now, being, Satan himself, he wants you to focus on what that person did, because he never intends for you to be completely free. So we have to lay that person, in Christian terms, at the foot of the cross, so that we can go to Calvary and through Calvary to the other side of the abundance that is there for us. And God did not lay any conditions upon which we get to decide what to forgive and who to forgive. We are to ask him for forgiveness, and we are to forgive others. Nothing in scripture says that we are to announce to someone that we've forgiven them. This is a personal thing between you, your soul, and your source. And it's for you. And that's hard, because you still have...
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Camille, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, no, I wanted to ask Angel. Angel, you said I could be free if I forgive. Where does that freedom come from?
Okay, so I would agree with Camille, and to add to that, freedom comes from when you're tied, you're linked to them until you forgive. So for me, forgiveness is to learn that it wasn't about me. When someone is hurting or acting out in ego or acting out in their pain, and I'm in the way of it, it's like a car crash, right? I have to heal from that car accident. I have to fix the car, fix whatever it hurt in me, and go through that process. But I want to disattach from that. I don't want to be linked to that. So freedom separates me from them and from that. And they have whatever they want to go through. I free them. So if they want to go through the forgiveness, they can. But I no longer have to be attached to that suffering. If they're still suffering, I can throw blessings of love and kindness from my heart and free myself and do my own healing work, because I am free to decide that I can be free. And once I do, then I can live without the attachment to that. So it's like carrying around a trash bag with me everywhere of that pain until I let it go and say, I no longer, I free myself of this. I free you of this. I free whatever you have to go through with yourself and, God, and however that needs to be for you. I hold space for that. However safe I can do that, but I want to be free so I can have both of my hands to be able to live freely without carrying that along. That's no longer a part of me. It's no longer a part of my experience in what I want to move forward in my life. So being free of it for me is to let it go and surrender it to God, just totally surrender. Let go of blame, because blame holds you to not being able to take responsibility to be free, right? So if I blame
Wow.
them, and then I actually have an excuse to do it, right? I have an excuse. I'm this way because of this, or I'm this way because I was hurt, or I did that because of this person. No, I did it because I didn't forgive them. I did it because
Mm.
I didn't let go of that. And I
Mm.
repeated it, and now I'm responsible for what I repeated. So forgiveness allows you to take responsibility for your actions as of this moment, and it allows you to set yourself free. There is a mourning, there is a process, of dealing with the pain that it might have caused. You're in a car
Mm.
accident, you broke your arm, you had to go to the hospital. There's a process of why did they do it? But we'll never
Mm.
know why. It happened.
Yeah.
It's over. Now I can heal. Whatever they have to deal with as far as the consequences, I can't protect them from that, but I'm not going to add to it. I'm not going to create more harm to them. I'm just going to forgive them and move on with my life and move on and lay blessings and wish them well, and pray for them and lift it to God. And whatever's hurting in them, I would pray that they can be free too, because everyone deserves to be free, right?
But I went to them and they didn't accept my apology, my forgiveness. They didn't accept it. So
Yes.
how am I free? How am I free if they don't accept it?
And I believe that
There was never
Dr.
anything in the instruction that said you had to do that.
Yeah.
The forgiveness is an act between you, your soul, and your source. You do not have to announce that you forgave someone, because aren't we being a little passive aggressive when we do that anyway? Aren't we letting the person know, I know what you did and forgive you? But if it's truly between you, your soul, and source, then you're taking that person out of the equation, because they never should have been in the equation to begin with. So that whole act of going around and seeking to let people know, and I'm going to refer back to scripture. It's the clanging bell, and it's the announcing, when it's the announcing of your prayer, or praying in public where everybody can hear you. This is much more intimate and has much more depth and is much more personal than the way we have observed forgiveness playing out in our culture and society in our lives. It's much deeper and it's much more personal.
So what you're saying is I don't have to go to someone to tell them I forgave them.
No.
Do I have
Because
to go to
Gloria,
someone to ask for forgiveness?
You may have to go to someone to apologize, and then they decide whether or not they are going to forgive. But so if you go to someone and apologize and they're still holding on to it, that's on them. So make sure that you have I'm just going to say in Christian language, you make sure that's God telling you to do that, not you deciding that's a good idea. Angel?
I would agree 100%. I know that for my children, I always, anytime I see something, or I had seen them repeating cycles, and I let them know, look, I'm sorry that I taught you this, but I see that my daughter and I had this thing, and she was very angry at me at one point, you know, maybe about 15 years ago. And she was very, very upset. And I seen that she was repeating a cycle. And I let her know, look, I understand that this is something that you learned. And I'm
Mhm.
very sorry that this had happened. And I want to witness you and witness how you feel. And I know that you still feel a lot of hurt towards me. And it matters to me how you feel. And then when she was finished, and she really let me, she really let me have it. And instead of validating myself, which is not what anybody needs to hear when they want to be heard, you
Mm.
want to witness them and care, and you don't want to blame anyone else or make an excuse. But what I did was I witnessed her, and then further on in the conversation, I explained to her that I've broken that cycle for myself. And I know that it's hard and you might not want to forgive me, but sometimes we repeat cycles because we
Mhm.
hold on. It's like when you hate something or you hate something about somebody, we repeat it. And I would just want you to be free. Even if you never speak to me again, I just would want you to be free. And if you
Mm.
can find it in your heart to forgive me, even just not to even ever tell me, but just enough that you can be free, so
Mm.
that you can break this cycle for yourself and your children. And it was very healing for us, and it did take her time. And she never ever came to me, but now we've unraveled it. It was like a tight knot, and it got looser and looser and looser. And now we can talk freely about it, because she has forgiven me, and I could tell because her life has changed. What
Mhm.
we don't, what we damns us back. But
Mm.
I agree 100% with Dr. Camille when she said that when you forgive someone, you just forgive. You just let it go. And when you let it go, you for me, when I let it go, I just send blessings and blessings and blessings and blessings. And sometimes I feel their judgment, and when I feel
Mhm.
their judgment, I just do the whole pono and I lift them to the upper room, and I just send blessings of love, because when I feel that judgment, and I feel that, I know that, um, that if I can continue to send it love from my heart, do I ever say anything? No. But I do, as Dr. Camille said, if for me, anytime I come across someone and I sense an energy that they feel like there's something that with my brothers or my sister, or they sense there's something that I need to ask for forgiveness. I do it when it's organic and it's meant to be in a
Mhm.
moment that is, I just ask God, hey, is this the time? Or I feel it,
Yeah.
I sense it, and I could
Yeah.
feel the energy of it.
Mm.
And with my kids, I'll see some tension, or we'll be talking about something, and I'll say, is there something bothering you? I had a conversation with my son once, and he was talking and talking and talking about, you always do this and you always do this. And I was like, and he kept going on and on, and I was like, yes, okay, go ahead, tell me more, tell me more. And I said, when's the last time that I did that? And he thought, and he was like, wow, that was a long time ago. I said, can you forgive me for that? And
Mm.
he was like, wow, yeah, I didn't realize that that was bothering me, you know?
Mm.
And so it
Yeah.
was an organic moment, but it was a moment that I just needed to witness him. And I realized when he was coming across this way that there was something behind it that was causing
Mm.
him to do that. And that
Mm.
moment just opened us up. It was like a layer opened up between us, that we even got closer. And now there's
Mm.
less tension between us. So I think it's layers and layers and layers of things that come up. And we really
Mhm.
don't know what's inside of us until it comes up in a moment. And anything that comes up, I think it's just being in the moment of what is, and learning to love what is. And when we can learn to love what is, and when something comes up and it's organic and it's something that we need to take responsibility for, and it feels right to do it. And if you have to just do it in your heart, do it in your heart.
Mhm.
But I think when you're
Mhm.
open in that space, it's easier to do, if that makes sense.
Mhm. 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 Do I have to forget it? Can you forget when it hurts so bad?
It takes time. It takes time, and yes, you can. It's almost the more you do it, and the more you send blessings and blessings and blessings and blessings, and see them as more childlike. You see them more as children of God instead of a person that has all the answers. If you look at somebody like a mentor or like a boss, then you feel under them, and then you could feel like that victim. But when you see them as a child of God, and we are just children of God, then you could see that they're just children that might have been hurt, that are hurting, and that it wasn't about us. And that when we learn it's not about us, then it's easier to say, this wasn't about me. This was
Mm-hmm.
a projected energy. This was a projected thing. Or maybe I did something that caused that, here or whatever. And it gets easier. Is it always easy? No, but it does get easier, and then it is it does become like a magic healing blanket of love is what it does come. You can just see more when we have low self-esteem, we're more hurt. But when our
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem and our self-love, not egotistical love, exterior love, but when we have interior love and we're coming from a humble place of love, it becomes easier and easier and easier because we're not coming from our injured self. Our injured
Mm-hmm.
self, our injured self can feel it as a repression, but our whole self sees it as a human that was acting out as maybe in a hurt place that was
Mm-hmm.
just giving out the hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I
And
heard
don't
yesterday.
forget, Gloria,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Camille.
oh, don't forget that if it's still hurting, it's not healed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
You remember you said
Yeah.
it hurts so bad. Can I forget? It hurts so bad. If it's still hurting, it's not healed. And time will heal a cleansed wound. It will not heal one that's still festering. So if it still hurts for you to be around that person, if you can tell the story of 20 years ago as if it happened 10 minutes ago, that's a pretty clear indication that some
That it has.
bandages and some scabs need to come off and get that cleaned out. As it heals, it will never hurt, and that will also be with the memory. As that heals, you will not. The pain should not. If it's healing properly, the pain should not be so apparent.
Before you were saying something I heard yesterday, the meaning that you assign to something determines how it will affect you. So I'm thinking that, what are we assigning, or do these things really hurt, or is our perception of what happened? As I think earlier Angel was saying, it's not even about us, and then you were saying, so we're assigning something to whatever occurred, and then this determines how it will affect your life. How can we change how we see things? That's a whole.
Yeah. Can I add something? I think Dr. Camille had mentioned about if it still hurts.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned is if we're sick, if we're physically sick, we have to take time to nurture ourselves. We have to take time to move slowly. We have to take time to get well. If we're emotionally sick, or if we're still hurting because of something, we have to take the time to heal it. And it's having grace on ourselves to have it. If we're not in a place that we can forgive yet, it's nurturing ourselves through it. What are we not forgiving? What is still hurting us? How can we see this from another person's perspective? What might be hurting in that other person? Because sometimes when we get past our pain and we can see what's going on with another person, then it becomes easier to see that it wasn't about us. And then it becomes easier to start separating ourselves and then going through our own healing and getting ourselves emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually well, because it does have to come from your emotional, psychological, and spirit. And you have to add the spirit in there, because without the spirit in there, it's very difficult to do from a human perspective, because then you're only coming from like that ego, right? But when you add that spiritual perspective in there, and you can see it from a different perspective of surrendering it and letting it go and allowing yourself to take that time to heal, then you can be honest about where you are right now. If right now you're not there and you're still going through it, you might need time. If somebody just hit you, you're not going to be like, "Oh, I forgive you right away." You're going to be jolted. There's a process to that healing. So I want to honor Dr. Camille on what she had said earlier. If you're not ready, have grace on yourself and take it slow, and get a support system to work through it, so that you can work through it, because it is a process. But the more you use the process, the easier it is to do, and the faster you can become free. So I did want to add that, and forgive me if I diverted that question a little bit, but I just wanted to add that to that.
No,
and I would like to add to that.
Go ahead, Dr. Camille.
I'd like to add to that as well. As your I think I might have my train of thought. Give me just a second here. In the process of giving yourself time, you also are giving yourself permission, and use your voice to let people know that you're not quite there yet. Use your voice. And the other thing, okay, here it is. Angel said, about that whole time and processing, and it'll get, you'll be able to do it quicker over time, is you don't want to spend a whole lot of time about the forgiveness, thinking through that, because you'll talk yourself out of it. You want to give yourself time for the emotion to get back into balance with your will and your intellect, because we were designed to be balanced in all three of those areas. But don't spend a lot of time, there's no pros cons to do about whether or not you're going to forgive. Make that decision, and then go through the grieving process, whatever processes you have to go through, because there is a grieving process that comes with forgiving. It's the same as the grieving process that comes with any death. You are dying to self for freedom. So we grieve over anything that dies, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a part of us, a part of our personality that had to go, any type of change. We go through those cycles. We bargain with forgiveness. Or part of that bargaining process could be that you're waiting for the other person to do something to show themselves worthy of the forgiveness that you're wanting to dispense. Now, that's some stuff that we made up. There is not a world religion that would support, and that would support that. And that's rooted in judgment. You're still judging that person. And what if for just a moment, we realize that when God said vengeance was his, he meant that. And what if my refusing to forgive someone is a soul or a heart act of revenge? And that doesn't belong to me.
We're getting in God's way again.
Right. And what if we understood that our pettiness, because pettiness is an act of unforgiveness. Pettiness is an act of revenge.
Well,
sorry.
well,
because you're trying to get back, passive aggression, all of that. Those are acts of revenge. And they demonstrate to the person who is in the moment, who is being intentional, it is a warning that you're walking in unforgiveness. They're all warnings. God teed this up so well for us to have all this intuition and discernment to know when we are not walking in the path that he intended.
Okay. How would you tell I'm hurt. Okay, it really hurt me. How would you tell me to work to discover why it hurt me? Was it a loss? Was it a disappointment? How can you help me to work to find out why it hurt? Because, you know, what was the book? Small Stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And sometimes when you really get into it, it was, but how do I identify why it hurt me so bad?
Gloria, do you remember the exercise that we've talked about on other shows? Okay, so you're still being the person, right?
Yeah. I'm asking questions for the audience.
I'm not talking to
Well,
Gloria.
you can't talk like they already know, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So my process, I have learned for my process is when I'm feeling pain, whether it's pain from the past or usually it starts off with something that causes me to be hurt or feel the increase of a negative emotion. I have learned to ask myself, first of all, give myself permission to state how I'm feeling. I hurt. I'm disappointed. I want to cry. I am going to cry, whatever that is. And then after a moment, it's like, okay, so what just happened? And when was the last time that happened? And how did that feel? And what was going on? And if you keep asking yourself and going, take it back a step, back another step, you can trace you can find the point at which that the root of that hurt. Okay, so let me give you an example in real life. For me, I would prefer when my son comes to visit or when my sweetheart leaves, when it's time for somebody to leave, when it's someone I love, when it's time for them to leave, even if they're only going to be gone a few minutes, I noticed that I get anxious to the point where in my past, I would be a little manipulative to try to keep someone from leaving. And like I said, it could be as simple as I'm going to the store, I'll be right back. But something would bubble up inside me and it caused problems. It caused problems in previous relationships. But as I used this tool, I realized that when I was 5 years old, we had come to the States because I grew up overseas. We had come to the States for the birth of my baby brother, who was not, and we were at a military base. He had been born. We packed up. We're heading back to Germany. We were at a military base. My mom parked the car. And this was back when you could leave kids in the car and you didn't have to have, 20 people and the police waiting for you when you got back out. So she said she was going inside to get some information and she would be right back. Well, I had never seen the electric sliding doors before. And while we were sitting in the car, before she got out, I noticed that people would go in through these doors, they would close behind them, and then a plane would take off. Now, this is a 5-year-old. I'm processing because I notice everything, even at a small age. So every time somebody walked through the door, it seemed the doors would close and a plane would take off. So my mom says, I'll be right back. Gonna go check on something, coming right back. I watched my mom go through those electric doors and I watched a plane take off. And I thought my mother had left me. And when she got back to the car, me and my brother were scratching at the windows, screaming and crying because we thought she had left us. Now, my mother does not like for me to tell the story, so I won't be encouraging her to watch this particular show because it upsets her. Her kids would think they would abandon her, that she would abandon them. But I realized it was the same feeling that I had as a 5-year-old is the same feeling I would have when my son would leave, when my former husband would leave. And I caught myself in this, there was a space of almost 20 years between my divorce being in relationship now, when the first time I felt it, I knew I had to go see, I had to look at it, because I did not want to be that person who was manipulative, you know, and trying to fight to make you stay, because I was afraid that if you walked out the door, you're going to take off on a plane, you know? So that's how that tracing back works. That's why I said all that, to show you how that tracing back. And now that I know I get uneasy when people leave me, I can tell myself, they're just going to the store. He has to get back to his base. You'll see them again, you know, and, you know, I don't think the worst, but I know where it comes from. So I have a different response to the people around me because of it.
Angel, did you want to add something to how do I dig for my why I hurt? Because everybody doesn't hurt from the same thing. So how do I find out why I'm hurting so bad?
Okay, so I do this. What do I have to believe to feel this way? And I go deeper into what I have to believe. I have to believe that I'm not lovable, or I have to believe that I'm not going to be accepted. Two of the biggest fears that we have are not being loved and not being enough. And then I'll go deep into, do I have to believe that I'm not loved? No, I am loved. Does this person love me? Maybe they do, but right now they're hurting. What's going on with them? I like to really look at what's going on with them. Because if I can understand what's going on with another person, then it's easier to realize that, because there are people that hurt us that are not meant to be in our life, right? And we want them in our life. And so we fight for it, and it creates us all this pain, and we're putting ourselves through unnecessary pain for no reason, to say, I am loved by these people, and let me focus on that, and let me be okay with that, and let me just forgive them and allow them to be who they are. And if this is part of their healing, that they will learn, hey, I can't have that, this person won't be in my life as long as they're acting like this. Then maybe whatever they have to go through, that's between them and themselves and God. But I just learned that for me, I like Dr. Camille says, this is not that. So I, like her, until I learned that technique last 2 weeks ago, I didn't know what that technique was, but I did it automatically. When my son had said that, I kind of, in my mind, went back and realized that it was like I had some injuries, right? So when something happens, I'll say, and I already know my triggers, I'll say, wait a minute, Angel, this is not that. I'm enough for me. Even though I have this feeling, I still love and accept myself. They have a right to be themselves. Am I acting okay, or am I acting from my injured self around them that I'm triggering? Because sometimes I might be doing something, right? Sometimes I might be projecting my lack, right? Or wondering, hey, why are you mad at me? Well, then they're going to look for reasons. No, I'm going to be like, okay, that's coming from my injured self. Hey, is everything okay? Would you like to talk about it? You know, are you okay? Do you need anything from me? You know, so therefore I can come from a different place. So when I know where I'm coming from, am I coming from my injured self, or am I coming from my healed self? Right. And if I know I'm coming from my injured self, I think Dr. Camille had mentioned, to be clear, when my sister and I, which we talked through the writing of this whole book, and my brother as well, there were healings that I had. And my sister kept telling me, look, Angel, you are wanting something from a person that they can't give you, you know, and you have to let go of that and realize that you can't get that from them. And until you let go of that, you're going to suffer. And I had to go through a healing. And then we had talked about a conversation, and I said, I'm still working through this. This is just something I'm working through for myself, that I have to let go of that. So it took me time to process. At first, I didn't realize I was coming unconsciously that, oh, I've forgiven everything, so let's everybody just be friends now. Like, just because you've forgiven doesn't mean that everybody's going to want to just, you can just go and sing Kumbaya, right? So it's respecting that everybody is at their own space. And so say you were hurting, I would ask you, what do you have to believe to feel this way? Right? And you would say, well, I have to believe that they don't love me. Well, they might not love you, right? Do you love you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what might be going on in their life that they're acting like this? And then you might say, well, they came from this, or this person hurt them. So really, would you agree that it wasn't about you that they did that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, well, it wasn't about me. So are you lovable? Do you have people that love you? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So can that be enough? And can you forgive them and allow them to go through their process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's like a hot coal. Well, if they're holding it and they're giving it to you, you can choose not to pick it up. And we have to take responsibility for what we're picking up.
Yeah.
And not blame other people because we're picking it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
You know, it's
that's
like we have
good.
to take responsibility to put the darn piece of coal down. We can put it down.
Yeah.
And when we put it down, then we can do the healing that we were doing while we held it. Okay. You know, I was the one holding it. I can let it go now. And I can forgive them, for they know not what they do. They have a right not to love me. They have a right to be whoever they are. And I have a right to get away from it and be who I am over here, and know that I'm enough for me. And know you have to know that you are enough for you. Right. And that you are loved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though you have this feeling, you still love and accept yourself. And this is not that. And there's a place that you can step away and be okay with you.
I saw a piece of gratitude step right in there saying, I am enough and that's enough.
Yeah.
That's gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. Gratitude is the biggest. Once you are like, I'm grateful for everything that happened. I'm grateful for all the experiences. I'm grateful for everything that it taught me. And when you're grateful for whatever you're going through in the moment, and use each challenge as an opportunity to grow. I always tell people I don't have problems. I just have opportunities to grow, because then I can look at, you said something earlier. You said it's the meaning you put to it, right? So if you look at your problems and as painful, then you're associating pain to a problem. But if you look at a problem as an opportunity to grow, and you look at it differently, then you can handle it with more of have a different experience from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the audience, and hi, Karen, you are never late. You are right time. I want to ask the audience who's watching now, or who will be watching the replay later on. Who do you need to forgive? And you don't have to say the name, but one of the things that I put in our advertising for this week was to bring a journal. Because I'm an excellent student. I take lots of notes. It's the application that sometimes throws me off. So I, want to spend some time with, let's get about the business. Who do you need to forgive? And whatever that first, 5 or 6, 20, 50,000 names that come up, begin the process of, simply saying, I forgive, and do it in a way that you're not holding on to the list of wrongs. I need to forgive that person. I need to ask, what do you need to ask God to forgive you of? Lately, mine has been for me thinking that I knew more than him about certain situations. For me not providing the response that I know is best in a situation, for not reflecting Christ consciousness in my response to other people. Chrissy, you have your journal. I am so glad. So I write that name and be free of that charge before this show is over tonight. Who do you need to forgive for not having the capacity or desire to be or do what you wanted them to do? And does God need to forgive you for thinking that everybody had to live up to your expectation? Because expectation can be an unforgiveness trap. I wanted Gloria to be this person and she's not. And I have just been relentless in my thoughts and my judgment about who she isn't because of what I think she should be. I need to give that over to God, because the last thing that he is doing is holding to me, and I am not living up to his expectation. you know and I wanted I wanted part of this tonight to be deliberately hard, because this is hard work. We can talk about forgiveness, we can take classes on forgiveness, we can watch Facebook lives about forgiveness, but if the show ends and you still are walking on unforgiveness, I don't know what the other part of that sentence is, but it is not what I, as a human being, want for another human being. And it certainly is not what God and Source want for your life. So who do you need to forgive? And why not just go ahead and forgive them? Is there any reason why you cannot just write in your journal, just whisper to yourself, I forgive so-and-so, and God, me, for whatever? And we don't need to know the details, but God knows the details, and he's waiting to hear from each one of us. And I know, let me see if I can find the I here. I know that some people have done some horrible, horrible things to the folks that are watching. And I know that some horrible, horrible things have happened to the three of us who are hosting this show tonight. And I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, because it does. But what I do want to say is I'm sorry that it happened. Let's forgive so that we can heal the wound. Let's forgive so that you can reach back and help the ones that are behind you heal. One of the most beautiful things that I have been able to observe through Angel's writing and when she's pouring into us through the episodes of the show that she's been in, is it's so easy to see how she has brought so many people with her through healing. Her healing has led to the healing of many others. And I want to be a part of. I step out of a dark place and bring others out into the light as well. So this is my invitation to you, and my deep, deep cry of my heart. Forgive them. They didn't know what they were doing. And God wants you to be free and living in an abundant life. Who do you need to forgive?
Can I add to that?
Okay,
Definitely.
So I love that you added
Oh,
that.
wait. Chrissy, do not call them. Forgive them. You don't need to announce it. Forgive them. Don't call.
Yeah. Can I add now?
Go ahead.
This might help Chrissy.
Yes.
What I did, what helps me all the time is I journal, just like you said, and I say, I forgive you, and I write it down, because writing it down, and then I say, I forgive you because, and I write down all these becauses, because, I deserve to be free, because, you deserve to be free. And then I write, I'm sorry for whatever happened to you that caused you to do this to me. I'm sorry for whoever hurt you too. I pray that you're free of the pain that you have in your heart. And I write it and I write it and I write it and I write it until it's out. And sometimes I cry and I let the tears come, and I'll write down how I felt. And I'm, this hurt me and this is how it felt. It depends on where I am in the time. And I write until I can't write anymore. And I'll cry and I'll write. And guess what I do when I'm done? I burn it. I burn it. And then if it comes again, whenever I feel like I need to forgive somebody again, I grab my paper and I sit outside and I put beautiful music on. I'll put like the whole Pono prayer on, a forgiveness song. I think I said your forgiveness song, on, and I make a forgiveness ceremony. I had a forgiveness ceremony this past weekend, and we journal, and I'll write, I forgive because, and then I'll say, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'll say, I'm sorry if I know something bad happened to them, that they were repeating a cycle, or I forgive myself and I'm sorry for this. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You know, and I just keep writing and writing and writing whatever comes out of me. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I might curse when I'm done and I know it's all up. It's like a verbal throw up, and then I burn it. I burn it, and then I'll sing a forgiveness song, a love, and I'll hold my heart, and I'll sit and I'll just say, thank you, I love you, thank you, God, I love you, thank you, Jesus, I love you, thank you for allowing me to have this. And it just helps me to be free. I never ever have to tell a person. Sometimes people call me out of the blue. I had one person call me out of the blue one time. I've done this forgiveness ceremony a couple times. I had to do it like 3 or 4 times with this one person. And I got a call out of the blue from them asking me, and I was like, you know, I've already done it. I've already, you know, it's already done. You know, you're already free. I thank you for caring. You know, if that helps you, no, but you are free. I have nothing but unconditional love for you now. You know, it's what happens when we don't forgive. If you can imagine, there's a stream, right? Our life is a stream, and it's constantly moving forward, right? But what happens when we don't forgive? We hold on to a branch and the water is moving, but we can't go anywhere. We're stuck wherever we didn't forgive. And we
Wow.
can't move forward in our life until we can let go of that. And once we do, then we can go on in our journey and be and have all that we've ever desired. But we can't do it until we forgive it, because what we dams us back. It's like we're holding on to that hot coal and we're burning, and we're, you know, it won't stop burning until we let it go. And if we let it go, then we can heal.
Then you can heal.
Right. But we can't heal until we let it go. So I love the journaling, because the journaling is the key. And you don't have to call anybody. Don't reach out to anybody. It just will come, and it's divine timing. It's trusting God. And you, like, I think Dr. Camille, you said it perfectly. Before you ever do anything, ask, where am I coming from? Is this from God? Is this coming from my soul? Or is this coming from my personality, wanting them to know that I'm just forgiving them? Because that's almost like shaming someone. You know, somebody could have moved on with their life and they've sat with this for a long time, and you've just forgiven them. And just that energy that you've sent out to the universe, and next minute, you know, you get a call,
Brought it back up again.
like something on your Facebook, and you like it back, and then they energetically call you, or you just call and say, how are you doing? They might just say, hey, look, I just wanted you to know that I was thinking of you. And you say, oh, no worries. You know, it has to be organic, because when it's organic, then it's like a flower. It just blooms when it's supposed to. But I love that you said journal it out, because journaling it will help it get out of you, and it will allow whatever emotions are in you to come out. And whatever you have to write, be okay with whatever you write, because I think it's freeing. Yeah.
I do like that, writing it over and over again. I forgive whoever, I forgive whoever, I forgive whoever. That is almost like the affirmation or whatever, though that's not an affirmation, but the repetitiveness of it just, I think, is just like you say, vomiting it out, just getting it out, and then burning it. That is, I like, that's a great practice. I like that.
And the word because is so important. When you say the word because, you know, I deserve to be free, because I don't want to carry this along in here. It's because I want to heal, because I deserve it, because I am lovable, because I am, you know, a child of God. And then you can do the, and I'm sorry for whatever happened to you that caused you to do this. You know, I'm sorry for whoever hurt you. And those two things help you to see beyond yourself and your own pain. And it helps you own your own presence. And then when you start doing the, I'm sorry for whatever happened to you, you're realizing that it wasn't about you.
Right.
You know, it wasn't about you. No one purposely came out and did it to you because of you. It was a hurt that they were having that you just were in the way of. Like, you were in a car, this guy was driving down the road, he wasn't paying attention, slammed into you. You just were in the way, you know? And sometimes we're just in the way of something, that a repeated cycle of someone that we could just forgive, and then have gratitude for the ability to forgive.
And that happens, that being in the way happens in families, because one of the things that I have seen is that a lot of the times the people who catch the most HELL are those who are close to the hurt person. It's not necessarily the people out in the street or whatever. It's those people who are in near proximity of the person who is hurting. So that riding down the street in a car and you get it, that's a perfect example. And it explains a lot relative to why families have all this stuff going on in there, because they're the ones nearest to the person who's hurting.
Yep. The sins of the father are
And
passed
they're
on.
all holding coals.
Yep. The sins of the father are passed on to the child until forgiveness happens. And that is the key. That is the key. I mean, if there's no other statement that can be said, once you've forgiven, you've broken that cycle. And it's our job to do that. It's our responsibility. If we want to be free, we can stay in it and we will repeat it if we don't forgive, or we will carry it in us. And even if we do a different thing, people will feel it in us. People will feel it. They'll feel it.
Yeah. And Chrissy, I just want to say, I think you've heard everything that Dr. and Angel has said, and you said you wanted the person to know that they were right. They knew they were right when they said whatever they said. And then, as you heard Angel talk about, God knows what's going on. So you don't have to go to that person. Just be sincere in what you are doing relative to the forgiveness, and God will work all of that other stuff out and make it happen. But they know that they were right whenever it happened. They knew they were right when it was going on. So for you to go ask for forgiveness because you want them to know that they were right, that's some of the stuff that Dr. Camille was talking about earlier. She was talking about earlier. Wow.
Yeah. And it's a perfect timing too, because in my healing of taking responsibility for my own actions and repeating cycles with my own children, when I did all the forgiveness, I didn't go to my kids and just throw up all over them, forgive me for this and this and this.
Yeah.
It was a moment that came up, and if they were hurting and I was witnessing them, and I would just ask them questions, and then it would just come out. They would just be like, and when we were little and this happened and this happened. And I would just say, yes, please, tell me more. How did that affect you? How did you make decisions based on that? And do those decisions serve you? And how can you make different decisions? And then at the end, I would just witness them and say, you know what? You're right. It wasn't okay that happened. And I'm very sorry that happened. And if you can find it in your heart to forgive me. And now that you have different tools on responding to it, how do you feel about it now? Yeah. How do you think that, how would you respond to it now? How can we do it differently now?
Right.
How can we break these cycles now? Now that we know, how can we break them? And it's a beautiful thing to be in the moment with someone that you are in forgiveness with, and dancing in that unraveling with, that chooses to do it with you. I'm really blessed that all of my children choose to do it with me, and my sister, my brother, and so many people in my life. It's just so beautiful to just be in the essence. And then you can feel where it's dammed up. And then you just take the rocks off together. If you choose to do it together. And if not, then you forgive and you love them, and you send blessings. Once you've forgiven, you just send those blessings and have gratitude for them, and focus on all the good. See, that's the key, because it's easy to focus on the bad in them, but just find out all the things you love about them, and all the blessings and all the beautiful things that you're grateful for their existence. Your beautiful mother, I love how they do this with their children. I love how they do this. I love how they do this. And I love how they do this. And then just let it go. And then you're filling it with more love, and you're giving and then it's like, and then that forgiveness gets easier and easier, because it's like a circle. It circles around, and it gets easier and easier until it doesn't hurt anymore, and it's over.
You build up that muscle, and it becomes strong. Okay, ladies, man, this time just flies by. It is just amazing. And just a little commercial for Chrissy. Chrissy makes beautiful journals. The one that's on here, she makes beautiful journals. So you have to look her up on on Facebook. But Dr. Camille, any final closing that you want to bring this home on forgiveness? We've got great practices.
I want to read. The audience probably doesn't know this, but I'm a student of world religions and whatnot. And when we decided we were going to do this, it's like I pulled out all the stuff. I was so excited because I got to use that part of my brain that I misuse a lot. So let me just read this. This could be our parting thought.
Okay.
Someone who is happy, content, and in love will not harm anyone. It's impossible. If someone harms another, it is because there is a deep wound or scar inside of them which needs to be healed. The highest form of forgiveness is to realize that the other committed a mistake out of ignorance, and having a sense of compassion for them. Forgiving others with a sense of compassion is the best form of forgiveness.
There's nothing more to add to that. Ladies, once again, I thank you. This has been a beautiful, beautiful session. And my prayer is that many people will, though it was only an hour, that they will find a part of it that will help them move forward in the forgiveness process. There is nothing like the freedom of forgiveness, when you can walk around free and not have those the bondage of unforgiveness on you. And I think it was Rhoda that said something, because that can even lead to physical illness. So if we do nothing else, we have to learn to forgive. And I would even go a step further and learn to not take offense, because we know where that cry for help, or that it is a cry for help of some sort coming when we have hurt coming towards us. So I just want to say thank you, because it was good for me. And it was good for me. Okay. But I pray it was good for those in the audience, and even those who will see it, after tonight. And I thank both of you for your spirituality and your love and your wisdom in helping us navigate through this word forgiveness. And who's closing us out tonight in prayer?
I don't mind.
Dr. Camille.
Dr. Camille, you want to take us out?
Let's go before the Lord. Yes. Father in heaven, creator of the universe, Lord, we just come to you just to say thank you. Thank you for the way that you have brought Gloria and Angel and I together, for the way you have brought every member of our audience, whether they're listening now or will be listening later. Lord God, just thank you for the way that you do all of the things that you do. And Lord, I just ask now, would you forgive us for trying to be you when only you can be you? Mm. And would you help us to walk in the forgiveness that you not only require of us, Lord, but you made it a part of the provision for abundant life. You made it a provision for our freedom. You made it a provision for our health. So, Lord, I'm asking that anyone who watches this broadcast, Lord God, anybody who has contact with us, Lord, they will see what it means to walk in your freedom and in your health and in your peace. And they will want it. They will see it so much in us, Lord, that they will want it for themselves, and help us to be equipped to help the need when we get the call, when the need arises. Now, Lord, would you bless us with peaceful sleep, Those who have to travel to go to work this evening, Lord, I just ask that you give them your traveling grace and your mercy. But most of all, Lord, would you just help us to continue to be who you've called us to be, not for anything, any credit that we would get, Lord, but for your glory and for your people. And it is in Christ's name and with him on my mind and in my heart, I pray. Amen.
Amen. So everybody who came to us tonight, thank you so much. We love you to death, and we will see you next week, same time. But we don't know what God is ready for us to do, so we'll be there, and you be here with us too. We love you. Mwah. Good night.
Good night.